Bonsoir à tous, bienvenue sur le plateau Equinox Soir, votre décryptage quotidien de l'actualité de lundi à vendredi, 19h, 21h, heure du Cameroun, 18h, 20h, Greenwich Mean Time. Un an exactement après la loi numéro 2019-024 du 24 décembre 2019 portant code général des collectivités territoriales décentralisées, le décret déterminant les modalités d'exercice des fonctions du Public Independent Conciliator auprès des régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest est désormais signé. Le Public Independent Conciliator, d'après la loi, est une autorité indépendante ayant une compétence régionale de nationalité camerounaise et autochtone de la région d'exercice de ses fonctions âgé de 35 ans révolus. Le Public Independent Conciliator est chargé, entre autres, dans sa région de compétence, d'examiner et régler à l'amiable les litiges opposant les usagers à l'administration régionale et communale, de défendre et de protéger les droits et libertés des citoyens de la région, prévenir et lutter contre les discriminations dont pourraient être victimes les usagers des services de la région. Madame, Monsieur, tout à l'heure à 20h, c'est la grande édition d'information présentée par Cédric Nouffelé, tout de suite après le débrief du journal et tout de suite, et maintenant, le fait du jour. Public Independent Conciliator et la crise dans le Nord-Ouest et le Sud-Ouest, un maillon essentiel. C'est une interrogation pour tenter de comprendre, de répondre à cette question. Nous avons invité ici en plateau un beau panel. Vous allez le découvrir avec moi. Barrister Kamaliman, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sechalen Otu. It is a pleasure being here, and let me start by wishing you personally a wonderful new year.
Thank you.
And to all the other workers of Equinox, the best television in Cameroon. I pray and wish that God will bless this house, and I'm ready to contribute to the topic this evening. And equally, let me wish my co-panelists a wonderful day and a wonderful new year coming.
Voilà. Vincent Lepoliéré, bonsoir, bienvenue.
Bonsoir Serge Alain.
Vous êtes conseiller municipal PCRN dans le 3e arrondissement de Douala, c'est bien cela?
C'est bien cela. Alors je suis heureux d'être sur votre plateau ce soir, surtout à quelques heures de la libération de notre camarade, le régional PCRN du Sud, Athieu Assam Eyenga, que je salue ici. Je salue également Maître Bébé, qui faisait partie du collège des avocats qui ont accompagné l'honorable Cabral Ebi pour demander sa libération. Il faut dire que depuis quelque temps, le PCRN est sujet à beaucoup de provocations de la part des administrateurs civils, dont les sous-préfets. De quoi s'agit-il? Dimanche dernier, alors que se tenait une réunion à l'intérieur d'un domicile à Saint-Lima, le sous-préfet a ordonné qu'on vienne arrêter le régional PCRN du Sud au prétexte que la manifestation ou la réunion publique n'avait pas été déclarée. Vous savez tous que ça n'a pas de sens, étant donné que la réunion se tenait à l'intérieur d'un domicile. Une semaine plus tôt, c'était du côté de la Mofou à Famba, où un sous-préfet, encore un sous-préfet, avait porté personnellement main sur le départemental PCRN de la Mofou à Famba au prétexte qu'il arrivait au niveau de la sous-préfecture avec des chars PCRN. Alors, nous disons le PCRN reste un parti légaliste. Nous allons continuer à fonctionner en respectant la loi. Nous n'allons pas céder à la provocation de ces agents du RDPC. Parce que vous le savez tous comme nous, les sous-préfets, les préfets et les gouverneurs, nous avons vu une note du secrétaire général du RDPC qui fixait le montant de leur cotisation. À partir de ce moment, nous voyons clairement le conflit d'intérêts qu'il y a entre être sous-préfet et être en même temps militant du RDPC. Nous savons que ce n'est pas évident pour eux, mais en ce qui nous concerne, le PCRN reste un parti républicain et nous allons continuer, nous n'allons pas nous laisser intimider, nous allons continuer avec notre implantation à travers la République. Merci.
Okay, merci. Principal Mukage, you're welcome.
Good evening to you, Serge Alain. Good evening to my co-panelists. You should accept greetings from the peace-loving people of Misaje. Misaje subdivision, yes. And the entire population of Donga Mountain and everybody that's watching us from Bamenda. Permit me tell you, Serge,
an elite of Misaje?
Sure. Permit me tell you that I spent a week in Bamenda. I covered the regional elections there, and even the bureau. And this topic that you've chosen, I think, is a very good topic because it falls in line with what I actually experienced while in Bamenda. Because I was in Bamenda, I went right to Bali, and I discovered that there is a difference between what people sit in Yaoundé and think that is happening in the ground. There is a reality that a majority of these big people should rather go to the ground and discover that the people are suffering. It's not easy down there, because if you want to take an example, when you leave Church Street, or rather leave Church Junction to go to Bali, which is a distance that previously used to be 400 francs, now is 1,000. And within this area, there is a typical control of not less than 6 or 7 police posts that it needs to go through. Now, it goes to tell you what these people go through on a daily basis. And when we have things like this have come up, maybe in the course of the program, we're going to add our voices to those who already have something. It's going to be, is it actually going to be a practical solution to the crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest? Because truth be told, Serge, the people in the Northwest and the Southwest are suffering. Yeah. And if somebody is sitting somewhere and is making gains from what I saw in Bamenda when I spent 1 week there, I think that they should sit up. The end of year is coming, and we are today 29. The President of the Republic, who should be listening, and somebody will actually tell him, because always people listen, the 31st is not far, and he's going to address the nation. I believe that he should, because all this, I call all these cosmetic solutions to the crisis. The reality is there. The head of state has the 31st, and I believe that the nation, and particularly those in the Northwest and the Southwest, are expecting something bigger than all these cosmetic solutions until now are still to prove a solution.
For Elvis Tayon, you're welcome.
Thanks very much, Serge Alain. I've been away for quite some time.
Yes, it's been a long time.
Quite a long time. I think I've resurfaced full force, and to continue the fight for the right things to be done in this kangaroo system. And I think greetings to the people of Gunoko Village, as usual, and Royal Majesty Fond Dr. Fomiki Walters. Greetings to the people of Mbemi Village, Royal Majesty Fond Baabit, and also to the Fond of Barakwe, His Royal Majesty Fond Tegan Humphrey. But you know, special greetings equally to the president of our party, Professor Maurice Kamto, and to President Penda Ekoka, and also to you know, a host of others who are making it big. But then we keep saying that all those who are incarcerated in prison, Yaoundé is supposed to set them free and must set them free whether they like it or not.
Ok, je reste avec vous justement, Elvis. Pour vous, Public Independent Conciliator, what does it mean for you?
Well, I've gone through the provisions of the law. I have seen the activities from the general provisions to miscellaneous to financial and whatever the case might be. And the state tells us, as per the law, that these are the persons who will be acting liaison between the people and the conciliator in order to get litigations, defend the rights of the people, and equally at one point in time to defend the rights of the regional councils or councillors in order to transmit the necessary information to the head of state. That's what the law says. But I've been able to go through, you know, permit me give you a flashback when I was covering the regional elections in Buea at the Buea Council Hall. You know, the first thing that caught my attention was for the fact that I saw many, you know, traditional dance groups in their numbers over there. And I saw how people came there in their numbers. We were more than 4,000 of us there. And I realized that those who came there jubilating did not know why they were there. And I spoke to some of the regional councillors. Some of them even told me what they are going to do, which was not even part of their duty. I realized that many of them have not even been schooled on what they are supposed to do. Meaning that people don't even know that that is a smokescreen organization. And so people begin to imagine, well, for the conciliators, independent conciliators as they say, I looked at it and I went through the laws critically. I realized that it is just a smoke-screened explanation. Why do I say so? If I look at it, I see some sort of multiplicity of functions or duplicity. And for that case, it seems as if the state knows that there will be conflict. First, the state knows. You remember, Serge, I learned that when city councils came in, by the time we were calling urban councils, they equally had problems with subdivisional councils. One of the problems had to do with who is to issue building permits. By then I was in Kumba, the city council in Kumba was also Loga Hills with Kumba 1 council, Kumba 2 council, Kumba 3 council. And the laws were not even explained to you exactly who is supposed to take charge. So, you know, the state puts a law in a way that you people can be battling for long, while the state keeps smiling and looking at things. If I look at the independent conciliators that I find there, Search and Learn, I ask myself, this one appointed by the head of state. The city generals of the various regional councils will be elected by the head of state. At the level of the divisional house of chiefs, you have the SGOs who are there to lord over them. The governors of all the regions are the
supreme bosses.
Supreme bosses and the representation of the head of state. So how many representatives of the head of state do we have in the regional councils? Yaoundé is not serious. So if I look at it critically, I realize that all these mere things, somewhere I spoke to one CPDM official, unfortunately they're not here. They escaped for reasons they know, because we are now hitting the nail where it's supposed to be. And they are there watching us, but their time is up. But now if you look at it critically, Search and Learn, when you see the way they describe to you the independent conciliator, and at the same time you hear that the governor is also the representative of the state. So we have city generals who will be appointed to equal representation of the state. So at the end of it, we have representative of the head of state, who are about 3 of them there. That because you take the SD and the GO, the work or territorial administration. Now, what is the most annoying thing? I don't even know how the councillors are reasoning. Maybe because they are fighting for their stomach. You cannot tell me that regional councils are under the local development ministry, and then at the same time they are lauded instead by Minat.
Yes.
You see where the conflict comes in. I don't even know if the minister himself under local development is even aware, or is that he's sleeping. Because you cannot have a ministry, instead of sending regional delegates of the decentralization and local councils ministry to supervise. Now it is Minat who lives from another ministry to tell you that your own ministry is a subordinate one to Minat. It does not sound normal. Now with the independent conciliators, as we are saying, if you look at their functions, litigations, a bridge between the population, what bridge are they building? When we are saying that even the regional council themselves cannot offer what they claim they can offer. And what is the issue here, Mr. Serge? If you look at the Senate, you look at the National Assembly, I told people all along that this thing is a waste of money. Because one of the CPD officials I spoke to sometime told me that no, you know, federation and things are very costly. This thing is becoming more costly by far than federation, because all sponsors will appoint as per the financial execution they find in the provision of the law there, because they are going to run a budget. So at the end of it, we are wasting time. Yaoundé, we are no longer fools. Thank you.
Ok. Barrister Kamalimène, pour vous, 4 ans après le déclenchement de la crise dans le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest, quel regard vous portez sur cette personnalité public independent conciliator?
Oui, monsieur Alain, je partage l'avis de mon co-panéliste qui vient de dire que qui vient de dire que vraiment il y a ce conflit, n'est-ce pas, parce qu'on ne sait pas entre le gouverneur et le conciliateur, n'est-ce pas, qui doit faire quoi. Et en venant ici aujourd'hui, j'étais pour débattre, n'est-ce pas, si cette fonction peut régler du stress anglophone. Et quand j'ai lu la loi, je constate que ça, malheureusement, ça ne peut pas changer grand chose sur le terrain. Okay, now, Mr. Serge, when I went through this document, I equally posed so many questions that Mr. Elvis asked. And you see, one of the things that drew my attention was the fact that this person is being appointed by the head of state. It is problematic. And then this person can also be, his contract can equally be terminated
by the head of state.
By the head of state. How independent is that person then? That is a problem.
That is a problem.
Because if the head, and you see, Serge, this is one bad thing about the French system of administration. Each time they take a positive move, you will see that they will come with a clause that brings back everything to the head of state. We cannot pretend that a person who is being appointed you see, they said that 3 names will be forwarded to the president, who is going to choose. It means therefore that he is the one who has appointed. Now, how do they get those people to present to the head of state? It will definitely reflect a party. And we know for sure such that CPDM does not have good image, does not have a good reputation in the English regions of Cameroon.
No one over there.
You see, so when you look first of all at that, the simple fact that it is this conciliator is being appointed and could be dismissed by the head of state, it beats the purpose for which the law in the first place was enacted.
Ok. Pour vous, vous avez un problème, Vincent de Paul-Guédé? Il devrait être élu, le conseiller, le Public Independent Conciliator.
Ouais,
vous avez un problème avec la nomination?
Oui, puisqu'on parle d'un médiateur indépendant.
Oui.
Mais comment peut-il être indépendant du moment où il est nommé à la suite d'une concertation menée entre le représentant de l'État, qu'est le gouverneur, et le président du Conseil, qui propose une shortlist au président de la République. Et c'est donc à partir de cette shortlist-là que le président de la République va être fixé. C'est à partir de cette shortlist-là qu'il va choisir. Moi, je pense que non seulement...
Est-ce qu'ils peuvent choisir des personnes appartenant à d'autres formations politiques?
Mais nous l'avons déjà vu, nous savons comment le RDPC fonctionne. C'est la promotion, c'est des récompenses.
Le Public Independent, il va forcément faire partie de cette formation dont vous parlez là?
Il sera forcément membre de cette formation politique, puisque le conseil régional est contrôlé par le RDPC. Et les gouverneurs étant les membres du RDPC, ne les voyez donc pas en train de proposer quelqu'un venant du SIF, du MSC ou du PCN. Par ailleurs, la question fondamentale que nous posons pour ce qui est de la défense des intérêts des populations, pourquoi l'État a pensé que c'est lui qui devait choisir le meilleur interlocuteur, son meilleur interlocuteur en matière de défense des droits des populations? Je crois que c'est une occasion ratée là pour l'État de donner la possibilité au peuple de choisir quelle est la personne la mieux à même de défendre ses intérêts. Ça aurait été un excellent challenge de voir des gens se décarcasser, des gens crédibles dans ces régions, venir se présenter, montrer leurs faits d'armes, montrer jusqu'où ils sont crédibles, montrer ce qu'ils ont déjà posé comme acte, de manière à gagner la confiance des populations pour qu'enfin ces gens-là soient donc capables de défendre les intérêts de ces populations. Mais du moment où c'est le gouverneur, tel que je l'ai dit tantôt, qui le choisit sur une shortlist, ça devient problématique pour ce qui est des intérêts des populations. C'est comme si les populations, encore une fois, se retrouvaient infantilisées. Mais alors, pourquoi pense-t-on que c'est seulement les régions anglophones qui auraient besoin d'un médiateur? Étant donné que mes prédécesseurs ont très bien fait apparaître les conflits qui peuvent naître du fait de la multitude d'intervenants. À chaque fois, il y a un représentant de l'État. À chaque fois, il y a un représentant de l'État. Et lorsqu'il y aura donc des problèmes de dysfonctionnement entre les différentes collectivités, ici à Douala par exemple, nous voyons très bien, je suis de Douala 3, on voit quand la mairie de la ville décide, la mairie de Douala 3 n'a rien à dire, elle marche sur la mairie de Douala 3. Et voilà le conseil régional qui arrive. Ça va se passer comment? On aura forcément il faudra forcément un médiateur pour venir dire, écoutez, monsieur, à cet endroit-ci, vous allez un peu plus loin, vous deviez vous arrêter ici pour permettre à la commune d'aller. Pourquoi est-ce qu'on pense que c'est seulement dans le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest que ça devrait se passer? Donc, ça pose sérieusement un problème sur la volonté réelle des politiques à permettre aux populations de se prendre en charge. Il y a quand même une lueur d'espoir. Parce qu'on dit que le médiateur, ça c'est dans l'article, au niveau du chapitre 2, article 4, et alinéa 2, on dit, il peut entre-temps proposer au président de la République des solutions pour modifier la loi et tout et tout. Nous pensons donc que peut-être au bout d'une première année de blocage, de deuxième année, il pourra donc faire des propositions au président de la République pour dire que peut-être qu'il vaudrait mieux qu'on promeuve telle autre loi pour que le Conseil fonctionne mieux, pour qu'il s'entende mieux avec les différentes collectivités. Mais entre-temps, on aura passé beaucoup de temps à attendre que ce médiateur public qu'il s'imprègne de la réalité.
Voilà. Pinjol Mokage, vous avez un problème également avec le fait que le médiateur, le Public Independent Conciliator soit nommé par le président de la République?
Sure. I think that says should not be good for us to come back to what persons have already said. They've defined who is a conciliator. He's like the middleman, the person who is there to ensure that the common man is not cheated by any other party. It's a very laudable initiative because maybe in the days back we've had a common man like some of us, we've had ourselves being cheated, okay? But now it's a very laudable initiative. Where I have a lot of problems for Serge. The first thing is that I covered these elections that ended in Bamenda on the 22nd of December, like in all regions. You will agree with me that amongst all the regions, in the 9 regions, the other 8 regions, they knew their executive presidents earlier on, Bedford, Boya, and Bamenda. I was in the hall. It took place at the Regional Delegation of Tourism. I was inside there. And the reason was simple. Amongst 8 positions that are supposed to be given to a region that has 7 divisions, why not give one person first one before you come later? Because of politics, it took them more than 1 hour. We were inside the hall. And why? Because Mezamhatu and Menchumhatu, whereas Boyo had nothing. So it was after consultations that a different delegation that led Yaoundé went outside, consulted, before apparently calls came from Yaoundé that a position should be given to Boyo. The question you ask yourself is this: when this list left Yaoundé, did they not know that Boyo was part of it? You already see the hand of the CPDM and you see the manipulation. That's the first aspect. And now the most thing that takes me aback is the fact that Article 5 makes it very clear. It says that the public independent conciliator shall be appointed by decree of the president. It's finished. It is appointed by a presidential decree. It is very clear. The laws of nature make it very simple. You cannot bite the finger that fits you. It means that this man needs to be following the rules of the person who appointed him. That is the first aspect.
And the party.
And the party. And the second issue that makes it, they say, he needs to be submitting his annual reports to the president. And, yes, and he also needs to be working hand in glove with the governor, which means he sends a copy of his annual reports to the governor and another one to the presidency. It means at one time, if the man or the governor, normally, I used to tell people, and if you think we align, or you think that when we speak the truth, we hate somebody, show me one governor, one minister, one DO, one SDO, who is not of the ruling CPDM. All of them. It's very clear. You need to work within the past. Now, there is also this aspect that they are going to work for a period of 6 years. The term of mayors is going to expire on the 2025. So when you look at it, it shows that even somewhere somebody did not calculate it well. It was just something that, okay, let us, it's true. Because if this conciliator, it means that while the mandate of mayors, councillors expires, he still has a year. Or maybe some more. Because he has 6 years in office. That's what the law says. It's here, the articles that they brought.
Mais il travaille avec ceux qui seront élus en 2025.
Let us wish so. But the issue is... No. But the issue is that, Serge, the objective of this thing, I think that if we were to propose before now, it's just that we have a kind of government, I will borrow from my brother Kangaroo, that at times they do not do consultations from my own taking. You will not bring in somebody who will be a conciliator, who is supposed to work with people for a normal term, and you extend for him. There's already another problem into it. He has 6 years, whereas the other councillors have 5 years. It means that when their term expires, they have to work while they elect new councillors, and maybe at the discretion of the president. because the articles here makes it clear that at the discretion of the president, he can still fire them. So when I look at this whole show, Mr. Serge Alonto, and the fact that I spent 1 week with people in the Northwest, everything we are saying on TV, I'm saying it categorically clear. The people do not identify with it. The people feel that they want practical solutions, not this paperwork, because this is paper. It's not going to deliver the fruits the people in Bamenda are expecting. The people maybe in Boya, it's not the fruit, because they actually want to feel that they are part of the system. Mr. Serge, if you look from the municipal elections, municipal and regional elections that took place on the 9th of February, the same faces. The CPDM took the Northwest and the Southwest, except the Bamenda 3 Council. Now, this is an election that had as objective to quench the tension in the Northwest and the Southwest. Now, if you have the same faces, the same people resurfacing, look at all those who came out as regional presidents. Look at Yaoundé, he's an old face. Simi Evona. Look at the man in the Northwest, he's an old face. There is no new face in all these people. It means that even at the end, as the articles say, is that the governor, as well as the regional president, are supposed to shortlist the names. Politics already start comes in. It means that I need to know the governor and know the regional president for my name to be first of all amongst the three. And now when those three names are sent to Yaoundé, at the convenience of the president, which criterion are you going to use? Is it experience? Is it that the person has solved more conflicts? Is it that he's a lawyer? Because the same law says that once you take that office, you can no longer hold other offices. It means that we're going to have people, maybe in the days ahead, who are going to resign from their positions because they are aiming at a very high position. Okay. And now there is this last aspect, Mr. Serge. I fear, like Far Evi said, I fear conflict of personality and protocol in the days ahead. One, the same article says, and is very clear, that the public independent conciliator has the same rank and prerogatives as the regional president. Right. Now, but it's the regional president who propose somebody has a rank with him. There's already a flaw in it. It's wrong. I don't know whether people reason before they think or they talk for the reason or what. And the same man is supposed to work hand in glove with the city mayor. What is the role of the city mayor now? I want to know. Who is the public independent conciliator? Maybe Yaoundé needs to explain to us. And finally, what is the role of the regional president? You don't just pick things because you want to solve a people and you start giving conflicts, because in the days ahead, the independent man has the same prerogatives like this man. There is a problem somewhere.
Ok. Falvis, justement, est-ce que vous pensez que ce Public Independent Conciliator peut impacter favorablement sur la crise qui sévit dans le Nord-Ouest et le Sud-Est depuis 4 ans?
We're talking about independent, Public Independent Conciliator. If it is that it can impact any move that can help quell down the crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest, is a fat lie. That particular person will never. Why do I say so such? If the prerogative was even given for the population to choose, it would have been better, because these old guards have decided to take this country hostage as if it's their private property. It will not work. Because you cannot tell me that, just like what Prince is saying, the very old faces people are kicking against are the same faces resurfacing. They are adding more salt to the wound in this Northwest and Southwest. This issue of public independent conciliator shows that Yaoundé is not willing to solve this crisis. Yaoundé is not willing. Because you cannot tell me that somebody will be appointed who is not even known by the people, because to solve a conflict, you need somebody who is closer to the people. But if Yaoundé sits and play their political gymnastics and take people to compensate them for political gains they have done in one way or the other, it means that Yaoundé is not taking into consideration the interest of the poor man on the field. Yaoundé is playing with people's lives, but they don't understand that a time is coming when it will backfire back on them. Because the issue of appointing, Serge, if somebody sits somewhere, and even so, if these guys were here, these CPDM guys would have been addressing them because they are watching. Let them be watching and watching very well, because they are on a time bomb. As they think that they know too much, the public independent conciliator cannot solve a dime, not to talk of the regional councils. Mr. Sech, the formation of the regional councils is a non-event as far as resolving the crisis in the two regions. As I said earlier, what even caught my attention, and I was very angry, Sech, I must admit, while speaking here, when I went to Boya, the elite I saw in Boya, I said, so these funny guys were existing on earth.
They are there.
They stay in Yaoundé calmly. People are killed left to right. They are not making any statement. But on the day of the regional election, the vehicles I saw in Boya, I have never seen since I was born. You hear elite from Dian, elite from this, elite from that. After doing their dirty games, they all flew back with their bodyguards back to Yaoundé. Who are they fooling? The time for the games they think they are playing has expired. For public independent conciliator, the fact that you are appointed by the head of state, who you are only answerable to him, and not even to the population. You see when the controversy comes, that you have issues of litigation, you'll be making sure that it protects the right of the people. Who's right? You should bring somebody who is known by the people to defend the right, and not someone who's appointed in Yaoundé, because we know how all those appointed in Yaoundé do. They are very rude. Such. Most of those guys appointed by Yaoundé regime under presidential decree are rude by nature, as the regime has put it. Because at a point in time, they will tell you, I am answerable to the presidency. What will you do? So when they tell me that you'll be getting complaints from the public in terms of abuse and all the like, what is even the function of the regional council? When the state tells you they are only to accompany various government agencies towards development. And so when they are accompanying, what innovations are they to do? I am surprised when I saw some of them, and I spoke to some of them in an interview, and they were telling me that we are going to build roads, we are going to do this. I said, look at me, this for the guys. Something that National Assembly and Senate cannot influence. Regional councils are a scam, a big scam, and a waste of state budget, which those who are managing the state will pay for that mismanagement, whether they like it or not. Thank you.
Ok, Barrister, pour vous, cette personnalité ne pourra pas jouer un rôle dans la résolution de la crise?
Mr. Sech,
en tant que médiateur,
Mr. Sech, on many occasions I've made it clear that for you to resolve any conflict, you must identify the root cause of that conflict. Anglophones, when they went out for their revendication, they were not revendicating to have a conciliator. They were not revendicating to have a regional council. That's not part of their grievances. Yeah. And my brother asked a question to know why is it that it's only in the Anglophone regions that we have this public conciliator. The answer is that it is a kind of deceit because they came up with special status. They came up with this flowery word special status, so they had to put something in it. And when they bring this person who's been appointed, immediately I took the law. My first observation where I was heading to is how easy, how do they have such a person? Immediately I saw that it's appointed by the president, I said, it's a high-sounding nothing. Mr. Sech, we know, I'll be honest to tell you that the government has repeatedly shown bad faith in the resolving of Anglophone crisis. We know for sure what the issue is about. And then there's only two things that Anglophones can hear. It's either a federalism or secession.
Clear.
Now, I always say that, and I say my position. I am a federalist. And nothing short of that can solve the Anglophone crisis. Even when we have federalism, we still need to go through a kind of negotiations with the other brothers and sisters who believe that they want to secede for us to have the durable peace. Sech, it is time that the government should be serious. It hurts when you see the government keeps making the same mistake severally. They come up with this and tie something there to make it worse than the situation was. This cannot solve the Anglophone crisis. I've made it very clear that to solve the Anglophone crisis, the very first step is to permit that Anglophones in the all Anglophone conference should meet. When they meet, they will identify their common problem and who to represent them. When we have such a person we'll go maybe through a vote to see those who want secession or those who want federalism.
Mais est-ce que le Public Independent Conciliator ne peut pas porter ses revendications auprès du chef de l'État? Parce que l'article 25, l'article 25 dit, le Public Independent Conciliator adresse au président de la République un rapport annuel sur l'état des relations entre les citoyens et les services régionaux.
Est-ce que c'est lui-même qui doit informer le chef de l'État? Lui connaît déjà. Il n'y a pas un ministre au Cameroun. Il n'y a pas le chef de l'État ne peut pas prétendre, n'est pas au courant, n'est-ce pas, des revendications des anglophones. Ce monsieur va rien apporter. Nous, on connaît des revendications. Et on n'a jamais, les anglophones n'ont jamais demandé, n'est-ce pas, qu'on crée ce genre de statut. On n'a pas besoin. Le moment là a été déjà dépassé depuis. Et vous vous rendez compte, une autre manifestation de mauvaise foi, c'est dans la Constitution de 1996 qu'on commence à parler de décentralisation. N'est-ce pas? Pourquoi attendre plusieurs années, 24 ans, et attendre que des anglophones commencent à revendiquer avant qu'on commence à dire il y a un statut spécial, non, il faut qu'on soit sérieux, Alain. Et je vais vous dire quelque chose. L'objectif de tout gouvernement sensible, intelligent, est de régler des problèmes de ses citoyens. Et l'État doit être honnête pour bien diagnostiquer ce qui constitue le problème de son citoyen. On commence par là. Si l'État ne veut pas le faire, on ne va pas trouver une solution pour régler cette crise anglophone que nous tous on décrit tout le jour. Il faut pour une fois, cette loi va rien apporter, ça va plutôt créer des problèmes. Okay. Quand j'ai lu quelque chose m'a fait rire un peu, j'ai posé la question, il va habiter où pour exercer son travail? Oui, parce que il faudrait que pour qu'il soit à Bamenda, qu'il soit accompagné par des militaires, n'est-ce pas? Pour le protéger d'abord. Yeah. Il va passer donc où pour exercer sa profession? C'est déjà un problème. Donc, moi, je lance toujours cet appel à l'État. Laisser des personnes comme Kadina Toumi procéder à cette anglophone conference. On cherche des personnes qui peuvent nous représenter et on a un dialogue, n'est-ce pas, un dialogue honnête. Et on peut donc trouver une issue de sortie de crise anglophone.
Ok, Vincent de Poliédé, le Public Independent Conciliator est chargé d'examiner et régler à l'amiable les litiges entre opposant les usagers à l'administration régionale et communale. Est-ce que ce n'est pas, on ne peut pas commencer par là pour porter les problèmes de la crise anglophone?
Oui, c'est déjà...
Porté au président de la République, hein, puisque selon l'article 25, il dresse un rapport annuel.
Vous voyez très bien dans ce texte-là qu'il n'y a aucune disposition contraignante. Aucune. C'est-à-dire qu'à chaque fois qu'il s'engage à régler un conflit, il adresse des correspondances. Il y a des délais. En cas de non-respect des délais, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Rien. Lorsque l'administration concernée ne s'exécute pas, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Elle a combien de temps pour s'exécuter? Il n'y a pas de délai. Il n'y a pas de contrainte. Alors, comment voulez-vous, au bout d'une année, lorsqu'il aura adressé un certain nombre de correspondances qui seront restées lettres mortes, lorsqu'il n'aura pas obtenu la résolution des conflits qu'il aura pris en charge, il adressera juste un rapport au chef de l'État pour dire, voilà, j'ai essayé, il y a tel qui fait ci, tel qui ne fait pas ça. Et puis, il attendra que le chef de l'État prenne une décision. Je crois que, comme je l'ai dit tantôt, c'est une occasion manquée, sincèrement, pour ce gouvernement, d'apporter une solution, une esquisse de solution à la crise anglophone. Parce que, nous l'avons dit et nous l'avons constaté, nos frères du côté du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest estiment qu'ils doivent se prendre en charge. Il y a cet esprit démocratique en eux. On pouvait au moins, puisque tout est verrouillé partout là, on pouvait au moins commencer par là. On pouvait voir une personnalité qui a même été actrice dans ce conflit, surgit comme médiateur.
Vous pensez à qui? À Bobala?
Par exemple, dans le sud-ouest,
oui,
qui aurait pu être élu par la population pour défendre ses intérêts. Je crois que ça pouvait commencer à apaiser les tensions parce que les populations se reconnaissant en lui qui a été au four et au moulin dans cette crise-là. Mais lorsqu'on reviendra nous donner un membre du comité central, lorsqu'on reviendra nous mettre...
Donc c'est ça votre problème?
Non.
Donc vous êtes sûr que le prochain public, les deux public independent conciliators viendront de cette formation politique?
Rien ne nous permet de douter. De toutes les façons, notre souhait, c'est que la paix revienne dans notre pays. Notre souhait, c'est qu'au niveau du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest, que les populations reviennent à une vie normale. Et c'est le gouvernement qui a la responsabilité de créer les conditions, de proposer des solutions qui vont mettre les populations en confiance. Maintenant, est-ce que les actes que le gouvernement pose nous rassurent? Nous sommes en droit de nous poser des questions. Maintenant, le RDPC est face à ses propres contradictions. Nous espérons tout simplement que ceux qu'ils auront choisi de mettre là-bas vont finalement se mettre au service des populations pour résoudre, pour répondre à leurs sollicitations, pour répondre aux problèmes qu'ils ont posés. Maintenant, on peut quand même en douter. Tel qu'on les voit fonctionner, on peut en douter. Nous les voyons, c'est un gouvernement qui est là depuis, qui ne change pas sa manière de fonctionner, qui promeut par les cooptations, par des clans, par des castes, et finalement, c'est des parrainages. Donc, on va se retrouver avec quelqu'un du système qui est déjà proposé. Parce que quand on nous dit que c'est le gouverneur, écoutez, nous avons vu ici au niveau de Douala, le maire de la ville, nous avons passé 2 jours à la salle de fête ici pour choisir le maire de la ville. Et la solution est venue de Yaoundé. Pourquoi pensez-vous que c'est au niveau du médiateur que la solution ne viendra pas de Yaoundé? C'est encore Yaoundé qui choisira, qui devra venir être le médiateur là-bas. Qui est-ce que le gouverneur devra proposer? Donc, nous pensons très clairement que le RDPC est mis face à ses responsabilités. Il a toutes les manettes, il a toute la marge de manœuvre pour pouvoir résoudre le problème anglophone. Et nous ne pensons pas que jusqu'à présent qu'il ait fait tout ce qu'il fallait faire, tout ce qui était en sa possession pour résoudre ce problème. Ce que nous observons en réalité, c'est le souci permanent de garder la main, le souci permanent d'avoir la dernière décision, le souci permanent d'avoir le contrôle sur la personne qui doit intervenir. C'est pour cela qu'il fallait contrôler les présidents des régions. Les conseillers régionaux n'ont pas eu de parole, n'ont pas eu de décision sur qui est-ce qu'il fallait élire. La décision est venue d'en haut. Les maires des villes, les maires des communes, la décision est venue d'en haut. Et maintenant, on se retrouve avec les médiateurs dont la décision viendra encore d'en haut. Donc ce jacobinisme-là qu'on décrit chaque jour, qu'on décrit toujours, se retrouve encore mis à rude épreuve là maintenant. Okay. Qu'est-ce qui nous permet donc de penser que cette fois-ci au moins, ceux qui seront promus vont travailler pour le bien des populations? C'est tout notre souhait et ils ont intérêt à ce qu'il en soit ainsi. Quand vous suivez les panélistes ici, quand vous suivez les compatriotes du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest qui parlent ici, vous comprenez très bien que leurs attentes ne sont pas comblées. Et le RDPC, le gouvernement en place, doit être à l'écoute de ses compatriotes pour apporter des solutions aux problèmes tels qu'ils les posent. Et nous pensons que la température a suffisamment baissé et que les gens posent les problèmes de manière claire aujourd'hui, de telle sorte que le gouvernement aussi devrait envisager des solutions à la mesure des questions qui sont posées.
Ok. Puis Joël, on reconnaît quand même que le Public Independent Conciliator est nommé par décret après concertation, initiative concertée entre le président de la région et le gouverneur, le représentant de l'État. Restons sur les termes.
Okay. Yeah, Serge, I think it's very clear.
Il se rend compte quand même.
No, there will be nothing. I've said I covered elections, not one or two in Cameroon. And elections in Cameroon, before you are mayor, Yaoundé knows. Before you are city mayor, Yaoundé knows. Before you are regional president, I covered in Bamenda, I was there. They're not telling me, I was inside the hall. And even before we entered, it was very clear that the son of Fonangwafo III, Professor Fu Angwafo, will be president. It's clear. Those things, you know, the system has a way it functions. Now, when you look at what is happening today, you have a representative of the state. And if you want to take normal primary school teaching, the first representative of the head of state in a region is the governor. In a division is the SDO. In a subdivision is a DO. It means that if there is going to be consultation between the representative of the head of state in the region, without chewing words here, is a governor. And in the other hand, you're going to have a regional president who we should be able to say, Serge, that no true Cameroonian, even the regime in Yaoundé, knows very well that elections of the 9th of February in these two regions, for the first time in the history of multipartyism in Cameroon, we have just two political parties that had two councils. While the CPDM has all the councils in the northwest and the southwest, the SDF managed one in the Douala 3 municipality. Now it is these same people who were supposed to produce on the 6th of December councillors, regional councillors. You see the same system, it's a whole system. Now it is the same people after the 6th of November who are to produce the regional bureau on the 22nd.
The 6th of December.
From the 6th of December, it is the same people from the 6th who are to produce from the 6th to the 26th of December the regional bureau. Look at the whole system. Now, after that, okay. After that, you're going to have...
Oui, on revient après le journal, parce qu'il est là, Cédric. Bonsoir Cédric, comme menu ce soir.
Bonsoir Saint-Jalin, bonsoir aux invités. Ce soir, nous allons donner la parole aux différentes missions d'observation électorale en Centrafrique, missions de l'Union africaine, de la CEAC et de la CENSAD. Toutes s'accordent à dire qu'il y a eu une élection qui s'est déroulée dans de bonnes conditions, malgré des exactions et incursions des groupes armés dans plusieurs localités. L'Union africaine, la CEAC, qui appelle au dialogue politique et s'oppose à la guerre dans ce pays d'Afrique centrale. Nous ferons le point sur la situation des droits de l'homme également en Centrafrique. Et au Cameroun, la rétro 2020, c'est essentiellement des scandales qui ont émaillé la crise dans le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest. Nous reviendrons sur les temps forts de ces différentes affaires scandaleuses et autres graves violations des droits de l'homme qui ont émaillé l'année 2020 dans les régions en guerre depuis près de 3 ans. Nous prendrons également le pouls du septentrion. Vous le savez, c'est également l'une des régions les plus économiquement sinistrées. Là-bas, la douane et les transitaires peinent à pouvoir tirer profit des activités économiques qui sont complètement au ralenti du fait des incursions des groupes terroristes, notamment ceux de Boko Haram. Vous suivrez la réalité difficile des acteurs économiques dans le septentrion. Et dans le journal de 20 h, nous parlerons de l'inquiétude de la société civile en raison d'une possibilité pour le gouvernement d'harmoniser les prix de certains produits hydrocarbures au Cameroun. Qu'en est-il réellement? Élément de réponse dans quelques instants. C'est Jalin.
Voilà, justement, dans quelques instants, ce sera le 20 h de Cédric Noufélé. Nous, on se retrouve après pour Equinox Soir, deuxième partie, le temps du débrief, toujours en compagnie de Fa Elvis Taillon, Pes Joël Moukage, Baristan Kamalimen et Vincent de Paul Yédé. Retour sur le plateau Equinox Soir, deuxième partie, Fa Elvis Taillon, un mois de suspension, avenir voyage. C'est ça? C'est la solution?
Well, you know that when you are in a kangaroo system, it has a particular
kangaroo system. Yes. Every time kangaroo.
Yeah. The system is kangaroo because you know all the actions are counterproductive. Now, when you look at it, selection of who, the governmental actions is counterproductive because we're talking about preventing accidents. Now, coincidentally, I travel regularly. If you look at the accidents that occur, you see they leave the object and they're chasing the shadow. Because it's the first time we are getting agencies being sanctioned, without mentioning names here. And most of the time when they sanction, after that, the whole issue dies down. When they sanction, the whole issue dies down. So the question now is, why can't the government not sit to find out, but what is happening? Normally, we think that in a government that's been in place for close to getting to 40 years, it's supposed to have been looking at the root cause of accidents. Some of them have to do with the meandering nature of the roads, obviously. You have to understand that if you have a practical regime in place, even though the one in Yaoundé is sleeping, you should be expecting that if you look at the roads, Yaoundé, Bafoussam, Yaoundé, Douala, the road is small. I think you will understand with me. So what they are supposed to put in place is, we cannot make 2-lane roads for the time being. It's possible, Serge. The amount of money those guys in Yaoundé steal every day could permit them get that into a project. That instead of us making roads that are meandering very small, they put the roads open and then build another road in between to separate both sides, so that you have a vehicle that is moving this way on one lane and the other one that is moving this way. If they can be borrowing money and putting it into commissions that are not working, commissions that are instead redundant, and now they are going to spend another colossal sum of money to the name of regional councils and what we call public independent consultants and all the like. These are budgets such that if Yaoundé was a government reasonable enough, they should have been able to extend these monies so begin to open our roads and begin to make sure we prevent. You will not stop accidents 100%, but you will reduce. Because if you look at Nigeria, we are lanes of road. They don't record the number of accidents we record every day. So how long shall we go? Every December, and particular periods, we get people dying, 70 and all the like. And the minister tells us 1 month suspension is enough. It's not even, they are not too serious. They are supposed to ask themselves, what do we do? We find out the root cause. Is it just reckless driving? We understand such. During this period, campaign, they come out during December period. What do? They busy collect money. But we are thinking that a serious government, before December, you hold a meeting with all transport agencies and the drivers. You school them on how they should not overwork drivers if they are tired, on how they should have spare drivers and all the like. But they don't do this. They always sit, come when it has happened. I saw them moving there, they said, all institutions, they shut the tap. Quelle autre institution? Quelle autre institution?
Est-ce que vous êtes membre du gouvernement? Vous êtes sûr qu'ils n'ont pas reçu des instructions?
Whether it's instruction or not such, the issue of coming in and singing a song of all institution, when people have died, cannot bring them back to life. We are more interested in putting in place measures that should prevent accidents and not sanctioning. Okay. 1 month sanction. After that, it continues. After 2-3 months, another accident again. 50, 70 dies. Instead of helping us, they should all go on leave search.
Barrister Kama, vous avez surtout regardé ces images qui nous venaient de cet axe national numéro 3. Et il semble dire que l'état de la route est pour beaucoup. Que c'est une route qui avait été, c'est un projet du président Ahidjo qu'on a terminé avec le président Biya au début des années 80.
I agree.
La route est vieille quand même.
Yes, I agree with him that the nature of the road, the nature of the road reflects the kind of government we have. That road is a very busy stretch that one would expect that the government should put something better than what we have there. And I equally wish to draw your attention that the driver contributed to the accident, because once you know that roads are bad, you drive prudently on them. I think the government is to be blamed and the driver equally. And you see, the bad thing is, it is the population again that suffers. Because you have mothers, you have parents who are victims in that accident. And their children are left now without anybody to support them. So, Serge, when a government is bad, when a government is negligent, it falls back on its citizens, and it's very unfortunate.
Ok. Vincent de Paul, le drame de Dikini Meki, pour vous, c'est qui le responsable?
Non, en réalité, le gouvernement est, encore une fois, face à ces contradictions. Parce que lorsqu'on observe la situation, vous ne pouvez pas autoriser les voyages de nuit sans prendre les mesures conservatoires. Il y a une direction de prévention des catastrophes. Que se passe-t-il en cas d'accident à 1h, à 2h du matin? qu'est-ce que l'État a prévu? Est-ce que l'État a les moyens de se déployer en cas d'accident? Il nous revient que l'accident a eu lieu autour de 1h du matin et que ce n'est que vers 3h que les premiers coups de fil ont été passés pour informer les populations de ce qu'il y a eu accident. Et en ce moment, un deuxième accident s'est produit. Donc, nous nous souvenons très bien que l'État, à un moment donné, a suspendu les voyages de nuit.
Pour vous, c'est la solution?
Il a fait à un moment donné, lorsqu'il ne peut pas garantir la sécurité des populations en pleine nuit, il vaudrait mieux prendre des mesures conservatoires. Et l'interdiction des voyages de nuit en est une. C'est l'une des solutions conservatoires. Donc, le gouvernement...
Mais c'est la population elle-même qui, à un moment, fait pression pour dire que non, on peut faire voyager la nuit.
Pas seulement la population, mais les opérateurs économiques.
Voilà.
Les opérateurs économiques. Parce que le trafic de nuit, apparemment, est plus important. Mais ce ne sont que des habitudes. Et ces habitudes, on peut les modifier.
Oui.
On peut les modifier si la loi encadre cela. Mais à côté de cela, il y a également les contrôles qui doivent se faire au niveau des agences et non sur la chaussée. Parce qu'au niveau des agences, vous allez voir quelle est la surcharge de travail que les chauffeurs ont.
Surtout en cette période de fête. Hein.
En cette période de fête, vous allez voir des chauffeurs qui font 3-4 voyages le même jour. Alors, je ne parle pas seulement de cet accident qui s'est produit, mais je parle d'autres agences de voyage dans lesquelles il pourrait également avoir ce genre d'hécatombe. Donc nous pensons que l'État ne doit pas abdiquer. L'État doit avoir pour souci majeur la protection de ses concitoyens et donc prendre toutes les mesures conservatoires, aller dans les agences, se rassurer que les chauffeurs de ces bus n'ont pas une surcharge de travail, n'ont pas d'heures de travail supplémentaires, parce que vous savez, pour conduire, il faut être lucide. Et le corps humain, dans la nuit, à partir d'1h du matin, tous les spécialistes vous le diront, il y a un relâchement de la vigilance. Et les chauffeurs, pour la plupart des cas, ne dorment pas en journée. Et même lorsque vous avez dormi en journée, dans la nuit, à partir de 1h du matin, il y a un relâchement. C'est pour ça d'ailleurs qu'il y a les heures de repos pour les camionneurs. Vous verrez que tous les camionneurs, entre 1h et 2h, se garent pour un petit sommeil de 30 minutes. Ce n'est pas le cas avec ces bus-là, qui plutôt se garent vers 4h du matin pour des lieux de plaisance et repartent vers 5h30, 6h. Donc, la période critique qui se situe entre 1h et 3h, ils sont sur la chaussée. Et tous les spécialistes le savent, et l'État le sait, et l'État laisse se produire ce genre de situation. Donc, encore une fois, il est interpellé pour la protection des populations et mettre en avant la sécurité des populations au lieu de favoriser l'activité économique. Parce qu'à la fin, à quoi ça sert de protéger l'activité économique si on doit perdre des compatriotes? On ne pourra jamais évaluer cette perte-là de manière chiffrée, cette perte de 39 de nos compatriotes qui ont disparu pendant cet accident-là. C'est d'ailleurs l'occasion pour moi ici d'adresser les condoléances à toutes ces familles éprouvées, surtout en cette période des fêtes de fin d'année.
Voilà. Prince Joel Mokage, pour vous, qu'est-ce qu'il faut sur nos axes routiers pour éviter le drame, hein, comme celui d'il y a quelques jours, dans les environs de Ikilimiki?
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is the fact that we need to beef up the policies of the government. The policies, because when I look, first of all, when you travel, for some of us who travel, a car that is supposed to carry 5 people takes more than 8. And the police officer on the way stops the car, doesn't even want to know those who are inside, even for ID cards. The police or the driver leaves with his hands closed, goes, meets the police officer and comes back, the vehicle continues. When you travel,
il y a des gens assis sur le banc de touche.
Correct. When you that was even for small cars. When you take big cars like those of us who left Bamenda recently for Douala, it is but normal they have small chairs that are flushed. I left Bamenda a day ago.
C'est ce qu'on appelle les bancs de touche.
I just left Bamenda a day ago.
Tu es assis sur le banc de touche?
No, I think I've gone past that level. I've gone past that level. And when you want to say it, some of us who even go to the driver and want to like. It's a whole chain. The people know that if they don't do that, they will not survive. Voilà. And even the uniform officers are comfortable because at times, when you want to even intimidate the driver, I want to show that maybe you know the legal implications of those things, and you want to tell them, don't do this. You're doing what the common Englishman will say, you're frying rice. You're not saying anything important because they are very used to. When you live in an area like Bamenda, Mr. Serge, you will discover that at the beginning of the town, before you exit, it is true there is thorough search, maybe because of fear that there are some elements that are not good. But once you exceed the main town is finished. As the driver exceeds and keeps going, he speaks just to the police officer, there is exchange of envelope, and some of these drivers, we should insist that far from the fact that the state too is maybe not doing a job, some of these drivers says, you know that in Cameroon, people learn driving after 2 weeks. You go to a driving school and after 2 weeks you're given a driver's license. It's the same case with people who learn in what we call laverie, in washing points. And another aspect is the element of our roads. The roads in Cameroon, sincerely, is a total shame. That is why one of my history teachers told me that what we have today as roads are leftovers of colonial inheritance. And maybe what now, the late President Ahidjo came and did some patches. Because till date, we cannot boast of having good roads in Cameroon. I was in Bamenda recently. I want to talk about what I saw. The only area where you will notice a good road in Bamenda is the road leading you from City Chemist to Upstation. And you're leading towards the governor's office. You're leading towards the prison. You're leading towards the office of the city mayor. You're leading to where those big guns are. And definitely that is where the man of the public independent conciliator also belongs. So you discover it's when you know those things, you don't stay out of, you don't stay where there's no security. Oui. All of, if you go to Bamenda, if you go to Bamenda at Upstation where the elections took place, where we were, all the big guns of the region are there. It means that there is total security for you to beef in is difficult. Says you cannot wear a white dress like what you're putting on in Bamenda and travel for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. The dust on you is a different thing. But given that these personalities, when they come to town, they have their AC cars with their screens that will go off, they just leave and everything is fine. You cannot be killing your own people. Because when you sanction the agency for 1 month. Before now, I read a communique yesterday that came from the same agency. And the agency, through its general manager, the general boss, had already said that the 30th, which is tomorrow, is a day that all the agencies will not work because they want to mourn those who died. It means that the government is repeating what the agency had already taken as decision. You don't solve a problem by sanctioning. We know how a uniform officer died in Douala because of 100 francs to pay. I went to a station, I went to another area in Bamenda where to enter an agency. There is still the aspect of paying. But we believe the government has stopped. Now when you go and tell them that I thought the government had stopped it, that people should not pay to relieve themselves, it is still another problem. I just believe that the whole thing turns around on the government. The government needs to ensure that the citizens have extreme good roads. The government needs to ensure that the policies are set aside. A police officer who goes to the roadside on the instruction of the boss, because you have not a good relationship with your boss, you come back with nothing. It's very sure of coming back not less than 25,000 in our roads. It's a tradition. They are used to it. So if the government put aside a mechanism that will ensure that if you overload, you are sanctioned, they even suspend you, the driver. It's going to help us. And if we have good roads, let us have good roads, let us have good policies, let drivers not have accidents, so we hold them responsible.
Voilà. But I just wish to contradict what Prince just said, because when you talk about policy, the laws are there. The laws are there.
Why is it not applicable? We are looking at applicability.
No, so it's therefore not policy. It is the application of those laws. Yes, and you see, corruption equally plays a very important part in what is happening. Just as like he was saying, you see, these guys, they don't even care about the nature of the car. When you come, the police people collect their money and you can go. The laws are there. The police people, the government are sending the police people on the road. But when they reach there, they have to collect money and be rest assured that part of that money is given to their boss.
It's been normal.
You see, so then another thing which is very important is that people, you are the first guarantor, you protect yourself first. And to me, it's a policy that I don't travel anyhow. I don't use a car on the highway anyhow. Because I avoid, not even the fact that I have a car. Even if I have to go by public transport, I avoid traveling in the night. Okay. I avoid it. Then, when I avoid traveling at night, at least the risk is reduced. So I think individuals should take the responsibility to protect their lives. Then we move now to the drivers, who equally, to me, are wanting, because if you're tired, don't drive. Because you don't only put the risk of others, the lives of others at risk, but your own self. The driver died in this accident. So I think it's a matter of being responsible in our attitude.
Elvis Taillon, comment on fait pour éviter ça en 2021?
You know,
avec nos routes, on ne va pas construire de nouvelles routes, on va utiliser les mêmes routes.
Yes, we have to do it, but what we need to do is
that on parlait de conscientisation, il faut
I think that one,
la prévention aussi.
Yes, and with that preventive method, because sometimes you find passengers accept to be overloaded.
Voilà.
I've had several problems whereby somebody accepts to sit with the driver. I said no, they cannot go. Now, when you say that, sometimes
prenons le cas de cette période de grande affluence dans les agences. Il y a affluence, les gens veulent voyager. Comment on fait? Il y a très peu de chauffeurs. On dit bon, voilà, vous partez, vous revenez prendre. Les gens veulent voyager. Comment on fait?
The truth is that when you see us blaming the government, it's because the government is supposed to have that machinery to control man's action. You understand? All right, man is born everywhere, but he's in chains. But it is correct to be in chains because you need to be guarded. You imagine someone need to catch up with a business transaction the other day, next day, and he will be accepting sometimes to be overloaded. You get the point. But if there's an action that stops him from going, he might be angry, but later on he will surely thank God for rescuing him. So at the end of it, while we solve all of this, all those what they call routiers, whether from Gendarme Police, they should leave the route because they're making their money. What are they doing there?
No, on peut pas.
No. Search, I am very candid about that. Search, what we should do sincerely, the guys are working for money. I'm talking as somebody who works on the road every day.
Non, vous allez pas dire tous, il y en a quand même qui font le boulot.
Maybe it is you who has experienced them. I've gone to the south.
Oui.
I've gone to east. I've gone to far north region. All I see on the way is, I've never seen them saying, stop these cars of Alumen, go back.
That's true.
I have not seen it. As the driver comes down, he goes and gives the money and continues.
Yes.
Search, routier, gendarmerie, routier police is nonsense. All of them, they should go back into the quarters and maintain security. If the other number police we could accept, but for routier, gendarme, routier police.
Est-ce que ce n'est pas une mission dissuasive en fait?
Une mission choisie pour chercher l'argent en route.
Dissuasive, oui, dissuasive.
To dissuade.
Yes,
voilà.
It could be to dissuade search.
Parce que quand on sait quand même qu'il y a un contrôle, il y a un poste devant là, on essaye de contrôler n'importe quoi.
That would be
donc vous voulez que la route soit...
No, I say that for those who are specialized, what we call routiers, gendarmerie, routier police, search, they don't have any use. The other regular police could do that job. Why am I saying so? Because this is supposed to be the work for these routiers, what we call road traffic, road police, road gendarmerie officers.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be their duty. When you come, if you are overloaded, they offload the vehicle and maybe give you a fine there. But we don't see it search. So the regular police should be doing their own job, but I'm talking about this particular service of what they call in French routier police, routier gendarme. Search, they are a money-making machine.
Est-ce que vous mettez
they bribe to go into it.
Où est-ce que vous mettez les conducteurs? C'est eux qui... Yes. Est-ce qu'on connaît ces passagers-là qui montent, qui sont sur les bancs de touche? Est-ce qu'ils sont sur le...
No, they are not even in the what they call the body room.
Voilà. Parce que là, vous semblez les oublier.
It's a search. The question is this: if your child is going wayward and you as a parent, you cannot put him under control. You as an adult, you take the responsibility. The state has the responsibility of guaranteeing peace and security of its citizens.
No.
Now we have people who are wayward. We will not deny that. And because the wayward person said, if the state was hitting hard, I was expecting that if you are going to Buea, we should hear that 5 buses have been parked by the roadside. Passengers to take another vehicle to continue while they are sent to the various detention centers to pay whatsoever they're supposed to pay for overloading. Search, you cannot tell me since 2-3 years, even above, there is nobody who can come on air and tell me that a vehicle left from Yano to Ngamanduka and it was stopped on the way because of overloading and was punished. It has never happened. So because these units, known as routine police and gendarmerie, are for money making, search, they should infiltrate them into regular gendarmerie police, let them go to the quarters and maintain peace. Bandits are disturbing us in the quarters. They should go into the quarters and maintain peace and leave that road for the regular police who could be trying their best. Search, the truth is bitter but must be spoken, because we are saying this thing, people are dying every day. That's why I say that they are playing politics over people's lives. When you come and ban an agency 1 month, what are the consequences? Those who are like doing the normal loading, they will go without jobs. Banditry will increase within that neighborhood. What we call charges. Those, because a company cannot pay you when they are not at work. That's their excuse. A driver who's on 90,000 francs, you need to go and arrest. So more crimes will be multiplied. That's why I said that you don't solve a problem by creating a problem. I don't know who told the minister in Yaoundé that when you give 1 month ban, you have solved the problem. That's not the issue. They are supposed to engage in education. If they come to use search, they should pick up airtimes and Equinox, all the media organs. This program is sponsored by Minister of Transport, educating the people, holding seminars with driver syndicate and all the like. And even the citoyen, what we call the citizens. So they tell you that if you put your vehicle that's overloaded, don't go into it. And if you are prosecuting a uniform officer, because search, this is what is happening. Transport Minister has not told us how many people are in that bus. The Joe went and not told how many people are in that bus, because if they were overloaded, we are supposed to hear that because they were overloaded, which checkpoint did they pass? You are supposed to go in the record.
Correct.
If they left from Kutaba and there are 6 checkpoints to where to Digimiki, you're supposed to get all those officers there, all in Kondenge.
What about? What about if they carry the person on the feet?
No, it's research.
If they carry the person on the
I
feet.
think what I'm saying.
Oui.
If a vehicle is overloaded
Oui.
and it has had an accident, and you carry an investigation and realize that it was overloaded, search all the checkpoints they passed through. It means that the people drive along the line, because else one checkpoint will have remanded that vehicle for punishment. It means that you are supposed to go, if you mean business search in a serious government system. Which checkpoint did it pass through? Gendarmerie checkpoint in Kutaba, the one in Bafoussam, the one in this place. You get all of them, all under detention for investigation, because they contributed for the death of this people, because it was surely overloaded. If you have proofs that the overloading caused the accident, such is if you do that for 1 or 2 vehicles, 4 gendarmes are remanded in custody. The next day they are in court, televised by Equinox, and they're very given. I'm sure you'll no longer be taking those things for granted. So the state is helping to keep the crimes because they're making money from it. And at the end, they go give you 1 month, 2 months ban. It's not helping us search. I must admit that.
Ok. Président de Poliédé, pour vous, c'est la solution? Suspendre l'agence? Non, moi, mesure conservatoire.
Oui, c'est une mesure conservatoire, mais je la juge insuffisante. Et tel que je l'ai dit à l'entame de mon propos sur le sujet, je pense que l'État doit prendre ses responsabilités. Il parlait tout à l'heure des surcharges. En réalité, quelle est la sanction en cas de surcharge? Vous pensez que si une agence de voyage était sanctionnée à hauteur, je ne sais pas, peut-être de 100 000, de 150 000, en cas de surcharge, on trouverait les surcharges en route? Non. Ça ne se fait pas. Donc, je crois que l'État, en ce moment-là, a également une responsabilité. Et peut-être à la décharge de l'État, à un moment donné, il y a eu des programmes au niveau de la radio nationale, au niveau de la télévision nationale, pour sensibiliser les transporteurs, pour sensibiliser même les voyageurs, pour sensibiliser les utilisateurs de la route sur la manière de se conduire, sur la manière de se comporter. Mais apparemment, et tel que nous le voyons là aujourd'hui, ça n'a pas suffi. Donc il faut absolument que l'État prenne ses responsabilités. Il ne devrait pas abandonner cette mission-là. Et en réalité, voyez-vous, en journée, les contrôles sont plus efficients, ils sont plus efficaces. Mais dans la nuit, tel qu'ils le disent là, c'est un jeu de passe-passe. Et même pour la sécurité de notre pays, vous pensez que s'il y a des choses à transporter, c'est en journée qu'on va les transporter, mais c'est dans la nuit. C'est au cours de ces voyages de minuit, 1 heure, 2 heures, 3 heures, qu'on fait ce genre de transport et de transportement. Donc même pour la sécurité de notre pays, ces voyages doivent être bannis. Donc, vraiment, ces voyages doivent être totalement bannis. Sinon,
on les voyage de nuit pour vous?
Ils posent un sérieux problème de sécurité, aussi bien pour notre État que pour les populations que nous sommes. Puisque tel que je vous l'ai dit tantôt, dans la nuit, nous sommes tous exposés. Et l'État n'a pas les moyens d'assurer la sécurité de ceux qui voyagent dans la nuit. L'État n'a pas les moyens de secourir les populations en cas d'accident. L'État n'a pas ces moyens-là. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Il faut bien qu'il prenne des mesures conservatoires à ce niveau.
Okay.
No, I seek to differ with his opinion. You know, when you try to solve a problem, don't breach international laws you've signed. Right to movement is an international law. It's a fundamental human right. So you cannot tell somebody that when a superior law says that that person has a right to movement, you tell the person not to walk in the night. No. Traveling in the night is not a bad thing per se. It's just that
là, je parle du transport en commun.
No,
pas du transport en commun.
No,
l'activité de transport en commun.
Sir, moving from one place to the other could be done by transport agencies or private cars. What I'm saying is that in solving this problem, we shouldn't create another problem, because if I am stopped traveling in the night simply because they say the government has said that people should not travel, I can bring an action against the government. It is my fundamental human right. So we shouldn't come with solutions that will create us problems. In reality, what is happening is that there's negligence on all the fronts. The police, the people controlling the roads are negligent or corrupt. The drivers are negligent and accomplices to corruption. Then the persons taking the car, I don't know why I'll accept to put myself in a situation where I don't have a comfortable seat because I'm taking we should be able to refuse. First of all, the passengers should be able to refuse that. We are not overloading. It starts from there. So as I said, it is yes. At times you meet them begging that I can even sit on the floor. You see, so we should attribute those responsibilities to the people who actually violate them.
Yeah. I think that a majority of us, like Barrister is speaking, he may be speaking as somebody who owns a car and doesn't know those challenges. The first thing I want to tell you, Barrister, is the fact that I was in Bali on Sunday. When you leave, is first of all, I want to tell you why people at times overload. I was in Bali. Now, the driver tells you, I'm taking 3 ahead plus him 4. I said 3 of us, 5 behind. For security reasons, you don't know what can come from where. Your head is very important. As you finish what you went to, no. Because people come and sit in Douala, maybe, and they don't know those things. I was from Bali on Sunday. The driver tells you 3 ahead. Okay, want to show you are at the Carrefour there. If you go to my Facebook page...
Attends, est-ce que c'était le dernier... C'était la dernière...
The issue is not dernier. The issue is not dernier. The issue is...
C'est le seul véhicule qui...
La vérité est que même là où tu es, les gars avec qui tu étais sont en train de te dire que là où tu es, moi je suis en train de rentrer. Il te dit même que hier on a tué 2 ici, avant tu en as tué 4.
Mais le cas d'espèce n'est pas mal.
No, I'm coming. I'm saying that, yes, that's the first aspect. The second aspect is, let us be honest, all of us have businesses. And for some of us, journalists, are what we call deadline pressure. You maybe went to Yaoundé for something, and your boss tells you, I need you in the office tomorrow. You don't have a private car that will bring you over. You are bound to overload because you want to get home.
No, you are bound to take a cab back. You are not bound to overload. It's a decision.
The issue is, the issue what we are saying is this, and what I'm insisting is the fact that when you travel, take a taxi just from here at Rond-Point, that you're going to neighboring Susa, that is not far. Do you know what the drivers do? When the policeman stops you, j'étais déjà vu. It means that as you come, that's how is the law. As you come in the morning, you see the man, and then now the whole day you can be doing it, except the change and a new team comes up.
Merci. Nous sommes arrivés au terme de l'émission. Merci, Prince Joel Mukage. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Sir Shalom.
Voilà.
Special greetings to my Royal Highness Fon Thomas Kimbus at the Fon of Misaji, and everybody who took time off to watch in Bamenda, especially the General Manager of Blue Pearl Hotel.
Voilà. Merci à vous également, Barrister Kamalimen.
C'est toujours un plaisir d'être ici. Merci.
Voilà. The man of Gunoko Village Kangaroo System.
Yes, it's my pleasure being here today while calling on the Kangaroo System to release our Vice President, Professor Alain Foguet, and even Bobun Nisak, and all the other members of the party, because it is not good for the image of the country. I think greetings to all those who are watching us as you join us, especially with our crossover night at Kingship Ministry. You know, I'm still at Kingship Ministry with Prophet for Franklin.
Okay.
So I think we'll be thanking God for the new year.
Merci. Merci à vous également, Vincent de Paul Guédé, d'être venu.
Merci Serge, et je voudrais souhaiter mes vœux les meilleurs à vous déjà et à toute votre équipe.
Voilà, merci. Voilà, madame, monsieur, nous sommes arrivés au terme de cette édition Equinox Soir. Bonsoir, Upstation Bamenda.